Ladies, if you want a commitment, if you want to be married, close your legs.
Ooh, I feel like most people on dating apps are after and not relationships.
How can men get more from their partner? By serving your partner.
Carlos Reyes on the humble show. Yeah, we all in, yeah, we all in. So grab your boys now, cause you know we all win. Lift your hands up and give them praise. Blessed every day, full of grace. Yeah, we all in, yeah, we all in.
Welcome back to the All In Podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Reyes. Before I introduce a very, very special guest that flew in today from California for the show, let me just go around the room and introduce the usual suspects. To my center here, my business partner in the solar space, Mr. Phil LeConte. And to my left here, the most interesting man in the industry, Mr. Zady. And to my other left here, Mr. Born Closer, aka Adrian Salgado. Now, to our guests. Okay, she's a pastor, she's a wife, she's a mom, she is a relationship expert, and she is blowing up in the social media world. Everybody welcome Miss Daniele Hage.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Wonderful to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We are very excited to have you, as we were saying earlier. You know, the stuff you're putting out today, it's very unique. It doesn't sound like everybody else, and that because social media has begun to sound just so similar, right? Like everybody, you know, the message is people just aren't being their authentic selves. And that's something that I immediately caught from you. I'm like, oh, wow, look at this. This human being is just trying to help, right? Especially in today's world, right? We live in the world, we live in the dating app world.
Yeah.
We live in the world where, you know, women are, you know, they're frowned upon if they stay home and raise the children, when back then that was a very common thing in society, right? We live in a world where, you know, men don't behave or are not allowed to be the head of the household, you know, like we have historically, right?
We live in a day and age where commitment is disposable.
Yeah.
We live in a world where commitment is very rare these days too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. People really don't understand what commitment is, and especially a committed relationship. They think it's a contract, not rather than a covenant. It's like, you do your part, I'll do my part. You break your side, I break my contract. But a covenant is, I'm committed to you even if you blow it. Even if you break your commitment to me, I'm staying in for the long haul. And I think people just think divorce is easy these days. If it's not going right, you're not totally excited and there's fireworks and romance 24/7, I'm out.
You've been married for 44 years.
Yeah. Wow. I know, it's a long
What
time.
a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
And well, clearly you must have married your soulmate.
I married a very good man. Yeah, we were young. I was 19, he was 22. So we didn't know what we were doing, but we thought we did.
How did you know? How did you know to take that leap of faith?
To be totally honest with you, so I came from a divorced home, and my mom, that little recording was always in my mind. You have to have something to fall back on. You don't be too dependent on a man. You need to get your college education, get your career. You need to be able to be self-supportive, because my dad left her with 4 small kids and she didn't have anything to fall back on. Then she had to go take a job that was far away from the house and still raising 4 kids. My dad was still involved in our lives. He paid child support. He was pretty responsible, but she always said, you know, you got to have something to fall back on. So I was like, oh, I will be in college. I will get my education. I'll get my degree. And then I was at 18, I accepted the Lord, and I was raised Catholic, but I always say, you know, I knew, it's kind of like I knew about Jesus, but I didn't know him personally. And it's like Oprah. We all know who Oprah is, but how many of us have a personal, intimate relationship with her, right? So that's how I looked at God. It's like I knew about him, but it wasn't personal. At 18 years old, I got saved, not because my life was falling apart. I thought I was doing fine, but there was somebody witnessing to me about God. And I was like, I like my life. I don't want to change anything. And she did say this one girl, she said, you don't have to change a thing. Because I was partier. I was living it up. And I said, I don't have to change anything. She goes, no, when you accept the Lord, he comes into your heart. He does the changing.
Oof.
And I thought, really? Well, if I don't have to change anything or give up partying, and okay, all right, I'm game. And so, so my sister and I got saved, and in what she said was true. I started changing, and not because I wanted to, but literally we had a true conversion. I really did get saved and started to walk with God. Enter my husband to be. My sister's boyfriend at the time said, oh my gosh, these two girls have gotten saved. He is going to be a pastor one day. He was totally sold out, on fire for God. And he said, I need to introduce him to you. So he brings Steve Hage in, and I was just like not attracted to him. I was just like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. But he had a lot of knowledge, a lot of spirituality, and he seemed so much older than me. I'd never heard a guy, because I'm young, talk the way he talked. He had this wisdom and about life, and so we would listen to him, and he would just teach us about the Bible, and we had all these questions. My sister and I, she's 1 year older than me, and he would just come over every week, and then he took us to his church, and he probably 3 times after I was around him, he said, I need to talk to you. And I had already moved out. I was 17. I moved out on my own at 17 years old, bought my own car, was paying my way through college, very, very independent. And he said, and he takes my hand and he goes, I just want you to know you're a really likable girl, but I don't need any distractions because I'm going into the ministry and you're a distraction.
Oh my goodness.
And I barely knew him. And I was like, wait a minute, do you think I'm into you? Because I'm not. I was like, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Because, whoa, that's kind of cocky. Like,
Yeah.
why is he telling me this? And I went to bed that night and I said to my sister, am I going to marry this guy? I don't even know why that came out of my mouth. He's telling me I don't want anything to do with you. Well, we were married 18 months later.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Very young. And he became very persistent. And I was like, I'm too young. Nope. I'm in
One way to
college.
get rid of a distraction, right?
Yeah, right. And so I moved away an hour from where I lived down to Newport Beach, where my dad lived. And I just said, can I move in for the summer? I need to shake this guy because he's super cool. I like him a lot, super persistent, but I am too young. And he is like, he's a Christian. So he's like, we're not having sex outside of marriage. And so we can't be dating for a long time. And so we're going to, either break up or get married because there was passion there. And I'm like, I am not ready to get married. So I moved thinking out of sight, out of mind. And he said, well, I'm going to fix up my car and I'm going to come see you on the weekend. So I'm like, yeah, sure you will. And he worked graveyard at that time at a grocery store, and he made really good money for a young guy. And he did exactly what he said. He fixed his car up. He would get off work on Saturday morning at 7 a.m., drive down to the beach an hour, pick me up. We'd go hang out around the beach, do things all day long. And then he would go back to work that night with no sleep and work another shift, midnight. And he did it every weekend. And I was like, this guy does what he says. Wow, he really likes me. I'm thinking he's crazy, but he does what he says. And so just little by little, he won me. He won me over. I loved his sense of humor. I loved how smart he was. He was fun. And again, physically, I wasn't attracted to him. But the minute he opened his mouth, it was like, oh, and there you are. It's like, I fell head over heels in love with him. And then he became very attractive to me. And attraction grows on women, not so much men, but it does women. Anyway, so that's how we got started. And he just basically said, look, we can't, because there was a lot of passion and chemistry. He's like, I either break up or we get married. And I'm like, I'm too young. But he proposed anyway. And I just said, all right, darn it. Okay. So I said, I'll finish my education. We had all these big plans and dreams. We're young. We're not going to have kids for at least 5 years. 4 months into marriage, I get pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're like, how did that happen? We're like, we just, had a night of irresponsibility. And now we're like feeling like we're 2 kids, be raising kids. And so I was all excited. It was like, I felt like I was playing house. And he freaked out. He's like, now I'm married and now I'm having a child and I haven't even gone into what I want to do yet with my life. Wow. So it made him very, very nervous. And the first year of our marriage, I would say, is rough. We hardly ever had sex when he couldn't keep his hands off of me before we got married. And then because of the stress level after marriage, it kind of diminishes testosterone and a man's sex drive. And so I was like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? Is it me? What, and then we have a baby a year into it. And so we definitely had to have talk and get some counseling there and everything. But it all worked out, and 44
I got a bunch
years
of
later.
questions.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was great.
Yeah, that was
That was
beautiful.
amazing.
Thank you.
So, okay, my first question, before we get to like the first year of marriage and all those challenges that you were facing, right? You said something earlier. Your mom was raising you to not rely on a man.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of women out there that for some reason they're constantly yelling this whole "I don't need no man" slogan.
Right.
I don't need no man, right? And like subconsciously and energetically, right? That's exactly what they're doing. They're kind of deflecting the blessing that, may be coming their way.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly in that train of thought. I don't need no man. I don't need no man. I don't need no man.
Right.
And then you got all these female rappers that are just absolutely degenerates.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're degenerates, and you probably are not into that world, and I'm not either. But it's hard to ignore the degeneracy that's going on in the music industry, right? You got like these, what is that? Sexy Red, or what's that? Sexy Red. You got Cardi B, and they're constantly like, they're supporting, cheating on men, not needing a man, playing with multiple men, right? Do you think that is having a major impact in our world today?
Yeah. I think this is my opinion, and I've seen research and studies about it, but I think the women that are doing that and thinking that they can be out there, live their single lives, have sex the way a man can, I think they're causing so much harm to themselves.
Why is that?
Because emotionally around sex, women bond. They get attached to their partners around sex. It's something in our biology. The oxytocin hormone is released through orgasm, and it is through with men too, but it doesn't last. That hormone, which is called the love hormone, the bonding hormone, it leaks out of a man in like 3 days. For a woman, it lasts for weeks.
Wow,
so she's
I
like,
didn't know that.
she feels all connected and bonded. Well, he didn't call me back. And I've heard more men say this, and maybe you guys can attest to this. I've heard more men say, yeah, I was so attracted to her, and then I slept with her, and then next day I was just like, okay, go.
It's a norm.
Why?
Like men don't bond through sex. Now some men, if a man, and this has nothing to do with sexuality, but if a man has more feminine energy, he will tend to bond through sex. Because when I say this on social media, I get all these comments, not all, but some from men, and they'll say, well, that's not true. I bond through sex. And I think he's a musician. And then I look at his profile, sure enough, musician, artist, designer, because that's feminine energy.
Whoa.
It's like he can be he's still all man, but he has feminine energy. And those kind of men will bond through sex the way a woman does. Yeah. So women get hurt because they're thinking, he didn't even call me back. I gave him something so sacred, my body. And now he's just on to the next. Because that's what men do in the world. They, I got her. She's not even a challenge. She's not even fun anymore. I already conquered her. Next. And women are all bonded. And especially as a younger woman. Now, as we get older, post-menopausal women don't bond through sex the way a younger woman would, because her hormones have changed now. Okay. So she's, losing her estrogen. She's getting more, men, their testosterone starts to diminish as they get older, and it has the opposite effect on men than it does women. As men get older, because their hormones are changing, they get more sensitive, more emotional, more, they cry more after sex. They're like, oh, come here, baby, let me hold you and hug you. Where before they were like, okay, remote. Yeah, thanks, bye. Next. They're like, turn on the TV. But now they want to hold you. And now it's the women have changed. And I laugh with my husband, and I will say, oh my God, I'm becoming a man. Because now I'm more like, okay, bottom line. Okay, we're done. Okay, move on. And he's the more sensitive, mushy, gushy. And we just laugh at ourselves and at each other. Because it's like he's become more feminine. I've become more masculine. Again, it's because of hormones, not because it's just the way our bodies are set up.
What about like more masculine women or dominant women or professional working women? there's a child present. I don't want to say it, but you get what I'm saying. What about someone like that? Are they feeling the same type of way? They have that connection. They're just convincing themselves they don't, or have they done a switch and it's different for them?
I believe they're covering up what's really going on down deep on the inside. And I think that women who are out there that have to work, that have to, are self-supportive, that they have to be in their masculine energy. Because if they're working in the workplace, you have to be masculine. You have deadlines, you have to produce, you have to do the job. That's all takes masculine energy. But here's the thing. When they come home, if they want to be in a romantic relationship, they've got to leave the masculine energy at the workplace and turn back into their feminine when they get home, if they want to be in a romantic relationship. Because a masculine, healthy man is not going to be attracted to a masculine woman. Right. They're going to be more attracted to a feminine woman. So and even like a stay-at-home mom, when husband is gone, she's in her masculine. She's protecting and providing for those children when he's, off the premises, right? She's calling the shots. She's in control. She's in charge. But when hubby gets back home, she needs to turn back into her feminine if she wants to be attractive to her masculine man. So I think that women that are out there single, they have to be in their masculine energy. And they might be boss babe, killing it. And that's all good. But if you want to be in a relationship, you're going to have to find that feminine energy and learn to nurture it. And I think these days women have become so masculine because the feminists taught us and we drank the Kool-Aid. I was going that route. I was writing papers in high school and college
Woman
about
power.
The feminist movement and equal rights amendment. And I'm all about, equal pay for equal work and women's empowerment. I think that's great. But I think that the movement took a turn where they have to disempower, diminish, and devalue men in order for women to be empowered. And that is just not true. Why do we have to hate men to be, strong women? Right. We don't. But women, a lot of women in the last 40 years have drank that Kool-Aid. I was drinking it and then I got saved and met my husband, but I was still nervous about even when I quit my job after being married. I was like, wait, I don't have an income? How am I going to buy you a birthday present? With your money? That doesn't seem right to me. And it was so weird to me that I'm not contributing financially. And he just said, you're making a baby, because I quit when I was pregnant. He goes, you're making a baby. That's your contribution. It's fine. Like he didn't have any big expectations of me as far as contributing financially. And he didn't make a lot of money. I mean, we started out as youth pastors. We made nothing, but he was a really good provider and he did things on the side. He did whatever it took to build, to support both of us. But that's what I mean. I did marry a really good man. But I think women have in our culture now have been taught, and especially women that have been mistreated by men or mistreated by a father or a brother or an uncle or been abused or emotionally abused, verbally abused. They're like, I will never put myself in a position where a man has charge over me or is, I'm going to be my own leader and my own head because they've been hurt. And you can't expect a woman that's been broken and hurt and mistreated and abused to be in her feminine energy, because that means she has to trust the masculine. And it's like she's all broken. And it's like telling her, now be a lady and let him be over you. No. She's got to rebuild that trust and be healed. And, she's got these wounds.
I think it's a lot deeper than that too, because when you take on the woman that's been betrayed or has lost trust in men, then she has to also disagree with an old belief that was planted by whoever planted that seed that grew into a tree. Right. And she won't let you into the garden to deroot that tree or that belief, because she has to hold that protection mechanism like, hey, like, you're a great guy, you're providing, but this is what happened to me. Right. I think that a lot of women, in my opinion, for this generation, or I'm 30, but for the younger generation, they get triggered when you tell them that your power is in your feminine. Yes. When you are softer, you can you can be the what do we call it? The orchestrator. The orchestrator of men. Really. Yes. Yeah. Men just like we drool over a feminine, soft woman. That's where her power is. But when we talk about this in society, they get triggered because I'm independent. I can do what you can do, and even better, right? I can be that leader in my home, and I don't need a man.
Right.
But the issue is that we work in tandem.
Yeah.
Right? The masculine and the feminine come together,
Yes.
and that's where we find power. But the women are not, maybe they're not aware. I'm not sure. But
Right.
for the younger generation, to me, because of social media, because of the reels, because everybody's a dating coach, and
Mhm.
especially the 21-year-olds, they're all dating coaches
Yeah.
now. They all give dating advice on how men are. Women tell the men how men are, and then men are telling the men how women. I mean, it's very confusing. Nobody knows what's going on in
Yeah.
each body, but so much information and disinformation that everybody's confused on what role are we playing. Like,
Yeah.
do you want me to provide and protect, or do you want me to come in with a soft approach? You want a man that's going to provide, but do you want him to be at home to cuddle with you all day, or do
Yeah.
you want him to make sure that the bills are paid? We
Right.
can go travel, we can have a
Right.
good time, and you can do what's in your power, which is be
Right.
the feminine.
Right. And I think men crave women's femininity. They crave
For sure,
it.
100%.
And women need, that's what I teach women, how to nurture your femininity if you want a romantic relationship. If you don't, that's fine. But yeah, you can do everything on your own. But do you want to? Like, I can take out my own trash. I can, get my car washed. I can do all the stuff that my husband does. But I don't want to. I want him to be the man. I want him to lift the heavy things.
Yeah.
I don't want him to stop and get gas. He fills my cart with gas because he feels like that's his job. Never asked him to do it. If he's leaving town, he'll go, I'm going to stop and make sure you have a full tank, gets my car cleaned. And I'm like,
What does
thank you.
that
I'm so
do?
appreciative.
Yeah, what does that do for a woman? Because, right, real quick, for anybody out there that's watching and listening, when a man steps up and does the little honeydews, right?
Yeah.
Throw out the trashes, put a little gas in your car, get your car washed, whatever. What does that do for his significant other, the woman?
Yeah. It makes me feel taken care of. It makes me feel provided for. I feel protected. Like he says, I don't like you to have to put gas in your car because that's really vulnerable. You're hooked up. You can't get away fast. You couldn't get away fast and get back in your car fast if you had to. He goes, to me, it's my job as the man. It's a protection mechanism. And not that every man has to do that. But, and again, like when he's traveling, I'll call him and go, oh, running low on gas. You so blew it, babe. And I mean, we just tease about it, and he'll laugh and he's all sorry. I'm like, it's not your fault, of
And
course.
when he does that for you,
Yeah.
what do you want to do for him?
Yeah. It makes me feel like a woman. It makes me feel feminine. And it makes me want to give back to him. Whatever need you have, what do you need? I mean, it's like, it goes back and forth, right? So he meets my need, I meet his. And I just think if people understood that if you want a long-lasting, healthy, satisfying relationship, it's not always going to be one way. It's not always going to be one-sided. Like, you need to, there's so many things we need to learn going into marriage or into a committed relationship that isn't taught in school, that we really
100%.
should be teaching in school probably. But, just things like communication. I mean, it's the number one relationship killer.
Yeah.
Or a lack of communication.
I was just going to touch base on that, right? You've been married now for 40 years or 40
44
plus years, right? Just like in business, there's certain breaking points in a business when you're reaching certain heights. I feel like that's the same way in marriage, right? One of the main topics and I was telling you about your 1 year anniversary podcast that you did, just about the financial aspect of it, right? As a man, I feel like I'm supposed to provide, I'm supposed to do everything like that, but there are times where maybe I mismanage the money, right? And I'm not the best with the finances. And I know that's a strong suit in my significant other. And I need that assistance in that aspect. But sometimes as men, we feel like if we go and ask for help, it's showing a sign of weakness and we can't do what we said we were going to do. So I think that being one of the first conversations that most married couples should even have right from the beginning, right? Like, how does that come about? I
think every couple has their arrangement, what works. And I know I paid the bills, bounced the checkbook, when Steve and I first got married because I had more time and I was good at it. And so then once I started having kids and then I had to take a part-time job, it became too much. I said, here, you need to take this. And then there was a time when I said, hey, I can take it back now. And he's all, nope. I got it. And he wanted to do it. And I think it's whoever is strong in that area, maybe your wife is better with numbers. Maybe she's better at doing the tedious paperwork type stuff. I think it's fine for her to manage as long as you're communicating what you're spending on and how much you're spending, and you have that agreement, that arrangement. I don't think it matters who does it. It's who's best at it. Like there's things in our household that I'm better at, so I do it. Stuff my husband's better at, he does those things. I think it takes a secure man in his masculinity to hand over whatever area she's better at, because we all bring our strengths to the table. We all have our weaknesses. So let's encourage each other in our strengths and not try to hold each other back. You're good at that, so you go for it and encourage each other. I manage the households for the children and their schedules and all that kind of stuff. But there were times where I was exhausted and be like, honey, you need to step in here. I'm going to kill him. Step in here because I have no more patience, and then he would come in. I mean, it just, I think you have your dance and.
Yeah, it's a song and dance for sure.
Yeah.
I actually, as a man, I feel a sense of honor in being able to take care of my family, provide for my wife and provide for my children. Right. There's a sense of honor that I never experienced growing up, right? Because my father wasn't around. So, when I retired my wife back in 2016, I knew, I'm like, man, someone has to raise our children. Right. And I can't complain when they get older, they become adults and they're not functioning adults or productive members of society if we didn't raise our own children, if grandma raised them or the, what do you call those places that take care of the kids? Daycare raised them, right? Then I can't really complain, So I will say, speaking for men, on behalf of most men, there is a sense of honor that we carry when we take care of our family. So I wanted to ask you some very important questions that I believe will be very valuable to our listeners and watchers. Ready? How can men get more sex from their partners?
How can men get more sex from their partner? By serving your partner.
By serving your partner.
Serving your partner.
Please break that down.
That's called leadership right there.
Ooh.
Serving, going first.
Well, are we talking about like in the bed?
Uh-huh. Okay.
Wait, okay.
Unpack that.
Let's work our way there. Right?
Okay.
So how do we even get there? How do we even get there first?
Okay.
Yeah, let's start it from the top.
So
right?
if we say start from the top. If the man is the head, he's the leader, right, of the home.
Yeah.
Then he needs to serve his way into his position of leading.
What does that look like?
Helping her. Meeting her needs, whatever that looks like.
Throwing out trash, washing care of the kids.
Anything, and whatever she needs. It's not just
domestically.
Domestically or whatever. I mean, because a lot of times it's like, especially if he's working and let's say she's a stay-at-home mom and raising the children. So she's got her job. Yeah. But here's the thing. Men get to clock in and clock out. Right. Women never clock. If they're stay-at-home moms, they never clock out. Middle of the night, kids awake, you're in their bedroom. And not daddy, because he has to go to work the next day, right? Wow. Or what if there's your dual incomes? You're both working. So the wife clocks out of her outside job only to clock back in to the home job now. Yeah. So a lot of times men will think, well, your job is the house duties. Well, they're both your duties, especially if you're both working. And even if she's not working, she's a stay-at-home mom. That is a job. Yeah. It is the most important job. Yeah. The most important job. Yeah. Sure. And it's 24/7, right? Yeah. So I think, again, you have to find your arrangement, what seems fair to you. And the best arrangements are where both feel like they're getting the better end of the deal. Where you both feel like, man, lucky me, because I'm cleaning the toilets, but she's, she does dishes and makes dinner every night or whatever. So and I think the men that are saying, no, I don't do that. I don't do chores because I have a job. I think it's like, because that's beneath you or
I throw out the trash.
What? Right. So I say whatever, when you are talking with your wife, because usually the sex starts to get less after she starts making babies. Okay. She doesn't feel that great about her body. Now she has stretch marks. Maybe she's got weight she hasn't lost. Maybe she's breastfeeding. It's like, no, that belongs to the baby. And, women's hormones are all up in the air after babies. They say like 2 years. You're not even yourself again until 2 years after. And then what if you have another baby in those 2 years? Wow. So you got to give her some slack. I remember we went through a time, where I just was not interested. And I have so many young women around me, my daughters and daughter-in-laws. They're like, I have no desire. And what I tell these young girls is like, you know what? But he still does. He still has needs. You have a baby. I get that. But he still has needs. Where would you like him to get his need met?
Ooh.
Like he married you. You're the only one that can meet that need. And if you withhold that from him, it's very emasculating for him, number one. And where do you want him to get him at? You want him to watch porn? You want him to go get another girl? Because he's going to get the need met.
So right there, right? So, okay. By the way, even like with my wife, we have a mandatory rule minimum every other day.
Wow. Okay. Good for you.
Good for me? I don't
Yeah.
think, I guess I think it's okay.
But you could do
saying you
every
want every
day,
day or
twice a
once a
day.
week?
No, not entirely. I think I can go.
No, he's not a twice a dyer anymore.
Huh? By
That-
the way,
that-
my
that
wife is in the
That ship's
area
that
here.
ship
She
sailed.
showed up to meet
Oh,
you.
good. Good,
right?
good.
But okay. So, but here we've been together since we were kids. We were teenagers, and we've been together longer than we've been apart at this point of our lives. Right? So, but there's many times where it almost feels like it's a chore for her.
A duty. Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, let's go.
Yeah, let's just get it over with.
It's like, whoa, dude, seriously?
Right. Right.
I'm like, really?
As he walks to the room, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this sucks. Because a man, come on, if we're getting it every other day, right? I want to at least when we do, exchange.
Yeah.
Right. I want it to at least feel like we're both kind of
Right,
into it.
right.
Not just like, come on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe
Wake
it's your
me up when it's done.
approach. Maybe it's your approach.
so my question for you is, do you think that's healthy for a woman to do that?
I think what I teach women, and this has really worked with a lot of women, when they have an understanding of how a man relates to his sexual needs compared to because for a woman, we might be horny 24 hours out of a month. Okay. Depending on our cycles. Okay. But for a man,
24 hours out of a day.
It's exactly. They're thinking about sex every, 2 to 4 minutes or something. Yeah. So what I teach women is that men are not dirty. They're not perverted. They're not gross and nasty because they have a desire for sex. Mm-hmm. Thank God they have a desire for you, to have sex with you, the wife. But if they understand that the way a man relates to sex I like to say it's like a good pizza. He loves pizza and put a beer with it. I mean, he is as happy as can be. And how much food does it take for a man to be full? Like every day he eats 2 meals, 3 meals a day to be satisfied? That's how he relates to sex, like food, like a good meal. He could have sex
that's a good meal.
3 times a day and be great.
That's a great
But
meal.
Now,
also it matters also,
meat?
right? Like the faucet has to be running or else it's like sandpaper. So a man has to do his job
Yes.
to make sure that the faucet is running.
I know what you're talking about.
Wait,
So
I'm just saying you can't just sandpaper it. You got to turn the
it's got to
faucet
feel
on.
good to her.
Yeah.
Why get sandpapered every time
Okay.
I have to pay the bills?
Turn on the faucet, bro.
Well, Zady, how many times are you getting it a week?
No comment. I'm good. I'm taken care of.
Okay.
No problem.
Oh, you
My-
want to hold
my
back?
husband-
You want to hold back?
My husband says a man gets as much sex as he deserves.
Ooh. All right. So again, back to the situation, and everybody knows that I'm very open and transparent about everything.
Okay.
Like, he's like, oh, I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm open.
Okay.
That's why I believe that people love the show, right? So when my wife acts that way, when it's like it feels like a chore, she's like, well, at least I'm doing my duty. You should be
Yeah.
happy that I'm doing
Yeah.
it. Like, it's like, no, dude, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that as a man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Because
what
you
would be
want
your
to,
advice?
you want to feel desired
Yeah.
also, and that she is into
even
you.
if I'm
and
over
is,
20 pounds, that what I'm normally,
It's like
I
you
still want to
said,
feel desired.
you're
Yeah.
getting what you deserve.
Yep,
Big boy
nice.
season.
So why you keep blaming your wife, but you get what you deserve,
Bro, you get it
So-
twice a week. So let's relax. Well, okay,
I
let's let
see.
her finish.
Okay,
I
so
got it twice this week already, so I'm trying to
Okay.
break another record.
Well, it's already Wednesday.
the secret to sexual arousal for a woman is her ears. And I know you're thinking, is that a viable porthole to stick it in? No, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay. It's what she hears. Okay. For a man, a secret to sexual arousal is his eyes, right? What he sees. Because men are
100. Oh my,
yes, it's
you're
all
so
about
freaking, like she's
they're
like,
visual.
She's dead on. She's like, you're right on, right?
Men are
So
visual.
should I just walk by her and be like,
She's been a woman her entire
yeah,
life.
you're
by the way.
amazing. Like you're dead on. And everybody in here, we got some single men in here that are constantly on Hinge, right? They're going to be like, oh, the ears, right? So do you just walk by her? She's in the kitchen washing dishes, be like, you got a fat ass. What does that mean? What do you tell them?
Yes. Women love words. They love hearing a man tell them things like, you are the most beautiful. I only have eyes for you. When they talk about romance and relationship and how beautiful she is and how beautiful you love her body, every ounce of her, every inch of her body.
They call that validation on the
Well,
internet.
you know,
Validation.
remember how many lyrics to songs are, it used to be like where a man whispers sweet nothings in her ear, because that's a real thing.
Right.
It's seriously saying those little things, texting it, writing it down, speaking it, like giving her those little messages that you're hot for her, you're thinking about her, you can't quit thinking about her, can't wait to see you tonight. You got to set her up, you know, and then helping her get things done, because here's something you might not know about women. Women hear voices, okay? Her environment speaks to her. So you're at home and you're getting ready and it's time to get the dinner done, dishes done, kids to bed. Her environment is talking to her. When she walks in a room, her environment is saying, wash the dishes, pick up that dust ball, straighten the couch cushion, straighten the picture.
So true.
And she can't relax and be at peace until those voices stop yelling at her. See, men, their environment doesn't talk to them. You know, they always say women need a really great environment to relax in or to work in. Like I have my little office. I have everything I love in my office. I have my
clean and
diffuser.
organized.
I have my flowers. I have the pictures I like. My husband can work anywhere. It doesn't matter to him what the environment looks like. But for us, our environment's important. So you're coming to bed at night and she's hurrying around the house, scurrying around, trying to silence the environment, get everything in order so she can sleep. Okay. And you're upstairs waiting, like, what's taking her so long to get to bed?
It takes forever
Right?
for her to get there.
Right. So sometimes she needs to be rescued from her multitasking and
So just go grab her.
the touch of a man.
Okay,
on the
can I tell you what I did a few weeks
Okay.
ago?
Okay. Tell me.
Why are you laughing?
Because I already heard the story.
Who told you? She did, right? She told you.
No, I think you were. pretty
No, I
proud
didn't.
telling
She didn't.
me.
I had to. My daughter fell asleep on the couch, and it was my day. My every other day.
Okay.
And she's just sitting there watching this damn show, and I'm just like waiting around. Like, she's been asleep for an hour. What are we waiting for?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I go over there. I'm like, hey, let's go. And she's like, no, I want to. I grab her. I grab her, and I have to drag her like a caveman.
Oh my god.
I drag her like a caveman into the room,
Oh my god.
and she's just laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. You know, it was like
Okay. I'm
playful
glad she
to her.
thought it was funny.
It was playful to her. I'm
Yeah.
just like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this caveman stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not waiting another hour, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. You know, they do need to be rescued from
Yes.
their environment, right?
Yes. And I say a man's touch, not his push, pull, shove, or yank.
Yes.
Well, I started with just like
But
very nicely.
but you were being playful and it was
hit her over the
cute.
head.
I was.
And she
I
laughed.
was.
Yeah.
I
But you know,
was.
what if she's watching TV and you sat down and started massaging her feet? What if you got some oil and started massaging your feet without her even asking?
I'll do
And you
it.
just and then you work your way up. I mean, a
I'll do
man's
it.
touch.
I'll do
she
whatever it
can't.
takes.
She can't. She it'll be hard for her to not get turned on if you just start and you're not talking about sex. You're not
Yeah,
even
yeah,
mentioning it.
that's right.
Honey, I just want to rub your feet. Are your feet sore? Here, come here. Let me just and then you just kind of work
You've
your
had a
way
hard
up
day.
and around.
Let
Now
me rub your back.
Right, let me rub your back. You lay down. You don't have to do a
Start from
thing.
the feet, work your way up.
Right.
My
Stop
wife
in the
has
middle.
already caught on to that. She knows what massage
She
is.
knows. She's like, oh, I know where it's gonna lead to.
Yeah.
Right?
How do- yeah.
Well, and I always tell women it's like going to the gym. You know, you wake up, you don't want to go to the gym. I'm not into it. I don't want to go today. And you make yourself go and you are so glad you went.
Absolutely.
Rarely do you walk out of the gym going, dang, I wish I had slept in.
Never.
Right?
Never.
You're
Never.
so proud of yourself. You're so
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
Same with sex. he gets off, you get off, you're happy, mwah, good night. Rarely do you know, yes, at first it seems like work because you're tired, you're not turned on. Men, do your job. Get her turned on.
Turn on the faucet.
Don't just jump on her
Turn the faucet.
and sandpaper it, but get her going. She can't resist you. But do it in a way it's, women need to be warmed up. That's that old saying.
Let's get back to the question inside the bedroom now.
Okay.
Right? Because you started there. Right? I had to take you back to I had to take you to the living room.
Okay.
Right? Let's go back into the bedroom. Right? You said something about like someone goes first.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right?
Meaning,
what do you mean by that?
The
In
head,
bedroom now.
the leader goes first. So usually the man initiates. I always tell women, sometimes men love a woman to initiate, but initiating by doing those things that I just mentioned. And when I said go first, I meant like as far as a leader, the leader goes first. You hear a sound in the night, you don't send your wife to go find out what it is or your kid.
That's
You
right.
go first.
Yeah.
You're the leader.
Initiation, to initiate the-
Right. So, and not that women can't initiate. I mean, but usually the masculine is the initiator. The masculine is the giver. And I think if more men learned about women's bodies and how women's body works when it comes to sex, you would have no problem. But I think men rush to get there, to get to that place,
That's right. Yeah.
and they're not ready. And that's why their attitude, their mind's not into it because they're not ready. Their body's not into it. And men rush it. But if you took your time and really learned how a woman's body works, and there's so much great information out there, and it's not pornography. Pornography is not real. We all know that, right? It's pretend.
Yeah.
Like, don't expect your woman to look that way
And
because
it's not
it's not
healthy.
real.
It's not
healthy.
healthy. Yeah.
But and it short circuits the intimacy.
Yeah.
So if you're doing those things and connecting and bonding, I remember as a young married woman, I would hardly even see my husband for 3 days because we're busy and he's doing his thing and I'm doing my thing. And then he'd come home and be like, come on. And I'd be like, wait, I haven't even seen you. Can we connect? Can we talk? Hi. Hi, what's been going on? And that's how I connected to him. And then I was more open when I felt connected. And then as the years went on, I realized, okay, I'm not a whore. I'm not a prostitute. I can just have sex without connecting. You know what I mean? I'm his wife, but I felt used when I was younger, before we had that time to connect. But then, and he'd be like, okay, what do you want to talk about? He's just like, he's counting down the minutes. But I needed to get warmed up to him, you know?
Yeah.
And so he would do whatever it took, of course. And we would
also
talk.
in the bedroom, though, biblically, everything in the bed goes between.
That's right. As
the
long as you're in
husband and the
I
agreement.
say that all the time.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
not like it's not.
What is it
lust.
called?
The marriage bed is undefiled.
undefiled.
As long as
Well,
you're
you said
both
it's
in
not
agreement.
lust, right at that point.
You
when you're
can
married.
God is so good. Like he knew that human beings were going to have their needs, and
Yeah.
when that covenant happens and there is a union there, right? Like her body belongs to me, my body
That's
belongs
right.
to her.
That's
we're
right.
one, right?
Yeah.
So I have a question actually from the podcast guys. Should a woman learn a man's body?
For sure. But a man's body's simple compared to a woman's.
Yeah.
So simple.
So simple.
So simple.
Well, think about it.
right?
Everything's on the outside.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah.
woman, everything's on the inside. You can't see up there. You
That's
don't know what's
right.
going on.
You know when
For a man, you know
inside-
when he's turned on.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a guessing game. You know.
I think what's happening is
Yeah.
too many people are doing gender studies instead of sex education.
Yeah. Yes.
And like I'd like to touch on that. What are your thoughts? Like I feel like society, we talk about it all the time. The women are being taught to be more masculine, and the
Mhm.
men are being taught to be more feminine.
Mhm.
Not to understand the other side, but to
Right.
be the other
Right.
side.
That we're the
Like,
same.
Why do
We're
you think
the
that's
same.
happening?
I think it's demonic. I think it's a lie from the pit of hell. We're the same. We're the same. We are not the same.
No.
We are not equal. Yes, we all have equal value in the eyes of God. Every single person. Absolutely. But men are bigger and stronger than women. Women are smaller and weaker. We know that. We're not equal. I mean, it's more about equity in a relationship than it is equality. Okay? So I think
So you'll see it on YouTube. When I hit this button, it goes, ooh.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
good. Like
Yeah.
it, mic drop. So I think we just have to realize that. And what the secular world is telling us, we're the same, we're the same, we're the same. We can do everything a man can do. Men can be stay-at-home dads and women can be out working. That's not how we were designed. Women's bodies were not designed to work as hard as a man's. That's why
For
you see
sure.
women at young ages having heart attacks, adrenal burnout, breast cancer. because we're trying to work as hard as a man. We weren't designed
Right.
to do that. We're the receivers. We're the responders. We're the ones that are taken care of and pampered. And when a woman is taken care of and pampered, she has the energy to meet her husband's needs, to give back to her husband. But when a woman feels taken from, when a man is hungry sexually and she feels like he just wants to take from her rather than give to her in the bedroom, when a man is giving, a generous lover, he'll never have a problem
She's
getting
talking
sex.
to you.
Yeah,
Carlos.
I'm learning a lot. All right, I'm learning a lot. So I got another question for
Okay.
you, right? Why does 50% of marriages in this country quit on their spouses?
Yeah. Well, there's so many reasons, but I think a big reason, which is really, really sad, is people get bored. It's like the excitement and fireworks and romance. It's not there anymore. And what I tell people is, or people think, oh, well, we're having trouble. It's not happily ever after, so I must have married the wrong one. It's not about marrying the wrong one. It's about learning to love the one you picked. Because we have to learn to love. We have to grow in love. So that euphoric state of being, the in love feeling dies out after about 2 years.
Yeah.
It fades.
The puppy love?
Yes. And it's euphoric, and you feel, when you're in love, you guys have all been in love at some point.
Absolutely.
And it is the most amazing feeling ever. And it's that chemistry and that passion. And we are looking for that. We all want that. So we think when it starts to fade, oh, I must not be in love anymore. Well, you don't know what love is then. Because love's a decision. Love's a behavior. Love's a commitment. Love is not a feeling. Like that feeling fades in everybody.
Yeah.
Like my husband and I will say, we don't wake up every single morning after 40 years and go, oh, I'm so in love. No, we're like, hey, like we're friends. Like we know each other really.
Like, hey, your breath
through and through.
stinks. But that's love.
But
right?
we have to. If you are chasing passion and chemistry, you're going to be married 25 times.
Yeah.
Because every 6 months or every 2 years, you got to break up.
Yeah.
Because I want the chemistry, because it fades. Now, there's certain things we can do to spark the chemistry again, because your body remembers, your mind remembers, and just like muscle memory, and you remember what it felt to fall in love. And I always ask couples, like, tell me how you met. What was it about her that you picked her and forsook all other women? What was it about him? And you get them talking about their beginnings, and it's the way they start feeling toward each other and looking at each other, because it takes you back. Oh my God, I was so in love. But we forget a lot of times. And I think, there's something that psychologist Dr. John Gottman says, that when we pay attention, if there's still a fondness and an admiration after years, maybe that in love euphoric state is faded, but you can still go back and talk about your beginnings with fondness, with admiration. Now if that's all gone, it's because there's been a lot of problems, a lot of hurt, a lot of disappointment probably. I think why people end it, to answer that question, is we feel like if we don't feel in love, then it's over. Okay. And that's wrong concept. We think I'm okay, but I could be even better or happier with that guy over there. So it might not even be that their spouse did anything wrong, but I could just be happier. And that's a bad way to live, because with the next guy, then what if when you feel like, oh, I could be happier, so he's not getting a good deal, like she left her husband for me.
The grass
What
is
about
always greener.
Yes. And we have to water the grass
That's
on
it.
every
And
side,
to
right?
double down on Carlos's question, I don't quote me on this, but I think that I heard that 65 to 75% of marriages or divorces are initiated by women.
Yes.
And why do you think that is? I don't know what generation that is, but why do you think that so many women initiate the divorce?
I think when women aren't getting their needs met, or are mistreated, or aren't feeling loved and cherished and adored, they say, again, research says that a man can make or break the relationship. And I found that interesting, because I put a lot of the onus on women. I do. But I think when I saw the research, that's what the numbers said, that a man has the power to make or break a relationship.
I believe that.
I think you have so much power. And I think sometimes men get lazy, or they lord their headship, their leadership, their authority over the women and children. And especially if a man isn't feeling like a man, let's say he lost a job. Let's say he's not where he thought he would be at 40 years old, or isn't making the kind of money, and he starts to feel inadequate. And then to feel like a man, he needs to kind of take it out on his wife and children. And because we see that a lot. And I think for a woman, she's not probably going to feel cherished and loved and adored by a man that's doing that. So I think, again, I mean, we could go really deep here. It could all go back to childhood trauma, all the things you never dealt with, never got healed, and now they're getting fleshed up and triggered in marriage, in relationships.
Because Carlos posted, he did a reel a while back, and it said that nurses, I think it was like 70-80% of nurses are cheating on their spouse or
with doctors
or something like that.
Oh.
And then I asked a nurse the same question. I said, why do so many nurses cheat? And she says, well, typically the nurses, they end up getting a job and they're making more than their spouse. And then they're next to a doctor or somebody who's a surgeon.
Right.
And they go out for a drink and they have conversations and they were like, well, what would my life be with this person? Because I go home to this person and their life sounds a little bit better than my life.
Right.
Because I work these 12-hour shifts and I'm exhausted and I'm making just as much or more than my spouse. So it's leading to an effect. And what I thought about, I feel like from your generation to our generation, it's almost like an iOS update. What values from your generation to our generation cohesively work together, but also need to be updated? Because there's there's some friction going on between the men for my generation and how the men were for your generation. I think there was a lot of values. There was a lot of if you take patriotism and put it into a relationship, there was a lot of that, like, holding the door open, being a gentleman, especially in the South. Chivalry.
Absolutely.
Whereas for us, with the music videos and the content and having to show off this persona of who you are, it's, I need to show this woman that I'm somebody physically, right, externally versus internally. And they've lost track of what values that entails to keep a woman attracted to you. Right. Yeah. You don't have to show who you are. You be who you are. And so go back to the question, what values do you think cohesively work together going into this new world?
Well, I think for your generation, you need to know that the most valuable gift you could give a woman is making her feel safe and secure. And that will make you feel you're most masculine. You will feel like the man if she looks at you as her hero. She adores you because she feels so secure and so safe with you. And it doesn't mean you have to do it perfectly. None of us are perfect. We're going to make those mistakes. But women are attracted to strong men. It doesn't mean you have to make 6 figures, 7 figures. It's not even so much about the money. It's about how you make her feel. If you make her feel secure and safe, you could be a janitor. You could be a plumber. It doesn't matter. But emotionally, she feels safe and connected to you. You bond with her. See, so many men have not been taught about emotional intelligence. They're taught, stuff your emotions. Don't cry. Don't be vulnerable, because that's weakness. And it's not. That's how you connect. If you're never going to make yourself vulnerable, and when I say vulnerable, it doesn't mean you have to like break down and cry. You might, but I'm not saying you have to. But it's you. It takes courage to face your fears. It takes courage to be vulnerable, and that is strength. That's masculine. And so, talking to your girl about your fears, your dreams, your hopes, your inadequacies, your strengths, all that, like unzipping yourself and saying, this is who I am. And then, someone who is emotionally intelligent, they can engage with others and their emotions. You can manage and express your emotions. Men who refuse to make themselves vulnerable and just stuff everything, those are the ones that come out and go crazy. And those are the shooters and the beaters and the women abusers. Right. And it just flares up before you know it, because you've been holding so much in for so long.
Do you feel like your vulnerabilities can be weaponized against you?
Absolutely. Okay, so I did a reel about vulnerability, and most of my following is men. Okay, I have 80% men, 20 women. And I could not believe the pushback I got from the men saying, nope, I listen to you, but I disagree with you on this one. Don't listen to her. Bad advice. Don't ever make yourself vulnerable. She'll see it as weakness. She'll use it against you. She'll throw it in her face. And that made me so sad. Because first of all, what kind of woman, what little princess entitled woman would do that to a man and emasculate him like that? And he makes himself vulnerable and she uses it against him. I think that is horrible. And those men, I believe, are living in their wound.
That's evil.
They got hurt, so they're not going to go there again. Yeah. But you know what? Then you're not going to be in a relationship. And I hear men all the time, stay sane, stay single. Don't get married. I'm fine alone. No, you're not. I don't believe you. I think you want a woman. I think you do. I think you're living out of your wound and you're afraid to go there again. It takes major courage to go there again and risk getting hurt again for anybody. But I think vulnerability is the only way you connect, or you're alone lonesome.
For me, I never used to cry. And I don't mean, I mean like teardrop.
Yeah.
I would never cry until I lost my parents. My dad first, then my mom. Now when I'm watching a movie and it's like a father-son conversation, like a little teardrop will come and my wife will automatically know. Like she'll get it and she'll come and she'll just hug me.
Yeah.
And then I'll just feel comfortable and then more will come out. But that was so, like, it did so much for me to be able to do that because like you said, like I was raised with, like, you're a man, don't cry.
Right.
Don't ever talk about anything that's weak.
Right.
Because you need to be strong all the time.
Right.
And then I learned that when you do cry, like you said, you're not taking it out other places. You're not being an a-hole to other people.
Right.
Because you're letting it out and you're
it's cleansing for sure.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
It's a release. Question from outside here. With the new generation of dating apps, is that the best way to meet your person nowadays?
You know, I mean, it's all new to me because again, I didn't even hardly date. Again, I got married really young. So I had a little bit here, but not much. And what I hear, and maybe my daughter just has been married just over, I don't know, she just got married in September and she was 34 when she got married. And it's not that she didn't want to, she just hadn't met a man that was the right man for her. And I asked her, like, would you ever go on a dating app? And she said, no, I want to meet someone organically. There's lots of people who have met on dating apps and they're living happily ever after. They're doing good. Yeah. But here's the thing about dating apps that confuses me because I have friends of my age that are in their 60s that are divorced or widowed and they're like, oh, there's not much out there. And they're like, look at these guys.
There's not much out there. And they're scrolling through a whole catalog.
Yep. And they've shown me. And this is what I don't understand though. How can you possibly know? And they'll say, I'm just not attracted to him. I'm like, how do you know? You're looking at a book judging a book by its cover. I wasn't attracted to my husband. If I had that mentality that like, nope, and never got to know him, I would have missed out on a very long marriage, satisfying marriage, because I wasn't physically attracted to him. He didn't seem like my type until I got to know him. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I've never met anybody like you. So physical attraction grows on women. When you start to get to know them and what he's about and his personality and what he believes and the facts he trusts and just who he is, it can make all the difference. Why are you swiping? Say yes. Like, so he's not physical, unless now, yes, if he repulses you, but I always say like on a scale from 1 to 10, like a lot of people go, well, I want a 10. Do you? Because that means that you have to have the highest chemistry possible activated. But guess what? When it's all just chemistry, there's nowhere to go from starting that high. There's nowhere to build. And then it starts to fade and it just starts to
nowhere to go but down.
It's funny. I looked up some data before I came in here. It says that the ages between 18 and 29, 57% use dating apps to go on dates. Between 29 and 40, it's roughly 30%. Between 50 plus, it's around 7%. And 65% of men use dating apps, where 35% of women use dating apps to find their significant other. And they said that the addiction of the scroll, I guess the options to choose like a vending machine, has triggered like the lottery effect.
Yeah.
To where you go on a date, next, you go on a date, next. If I don't like this quality about you, another one will come tomorrow.
Right.
So what it does, it leaves you with the openness to have the option to opt out of wanting to fight for something bigger than just an option.
Right.
and something that can take you further.
Yeah.
Because you can say, well, that second date didn't go well, or I didn't like the way you just kept your shoes on the side of my house, so I'll go find another option, both for male and female. And I'm guilty of it. I hopped on Tinder when it first came out. The first girl I met, we dated for 2 years. I've actually dated a lot of girls from dating apps.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually made really good friends from dating apps, which we don't talk anymore. But I don't disbelieve in dating apps, but going back to the iOS update, it's like for this next generation, after the millennials, Gen Z, Generation Alpha, for him, they're going to be using dating apps, I would say about 70 to 80%.
The
Oh, yeah.
AI will be dating.
The AI will choose for you.
Yeah.
And their argument is that you can now customize and find the person that suits your needs and your values and the things you like.
You're trying to create your own soulmate.
Create your own, right? But then to double down on that, it says that 95% of women look for the top 10% of men or 5% of men, which leave the rest of the dating pool out of luck.
And those dudes are just running through a bunch
They're
of...
keeping the dating apps very profitable.
I knew
So-
I had a person. I'll just say this.
Go ahead.
He's a friend of mine. But when dating apps came out, I would just see him and he would swipe yes on everybody. And I asked him one time, I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I just have a theory. I just swipe yes on everyone. I see who responds to me. When they respond to me, I proposition them, and then some say yes, some say no.
Proposition them on what?
On having intercourse.
Oh, it's just about sex?
Yeah, exactly. So I in my mind, when he told me that,
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
thought like
that's
going
what-
on a date or
I'm
something,
like, that's
dude.
what I mean.
Wow,
going
bro,
straight
what
to
kind
the
of
punch.
friends do you
Yeah.
have?
It depends.
Oh my
Tinder-
God.
One person.
Tinder and
Not
Hinge are
friends.
different. Hinge are for professionals.
Oh my
Tinder
God.
is, are you
Or
free?
hooking up
But
for...
what I'm saying is, I think the apps
Your
are
friend's a
created
freak.
it's not to create a long-lasting relationship, because if you're on the app and you have a relationship, you're not on the app anymore.
Mhm.
So
Right.
why they're losing a customer?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Here, I got something for you.
Okay.
Right. Okay. I do feel, just to confirm what you just said, or what your friend, the freak, what's his name?
Freak
What's his
nasty.
name? What's his name?
AG.
What's his name?
AG.
Okay. I feel like most people on dating apps are after sex and not relationships.
Could be.
Maybe.
Right, because again, he was just saying,
Yeah.
oh, now it's options. Like, you didn't see your husband as an option,
Right.
Like, I didn't see my wife as an option.
Yeah.
Now it's like option.
Right, there's
option,
so
option,
many
option,
options.
option,
Yeah.
I don't like the
option.
wheels on
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know what I mean?
And if you are just on the app looking for sex, is that fulfilling?
No, but I don't know if
I
you-
mean,
I
so you have
really-
sex with someone, you move on, have sex with another, and sex with, and I've heard different men say, that just sleeping with a bunch of women doesn't make you a high value man. I mean, it does, just because you have this high body count, what does that mean? It's empty. It's nothing. It's a feel good for a second. And then you're right back in the place you started.
Yeah.
Like no relationship, no intimacy. Sex isn't
No connection.
Sex isn't intimacy.
Well, the reason why I said maybe is because people feel like, because both the male and the female are now working, especially for our generation, they can't afford to live. One says, well, I don't want to go out anymore. I'm not as social anymore. So if I can just go through the app, I can go at least find a date for the weekend. Because people don't connect like they used to,
Yeah.
right? Back in the day, you go to meet
crazy,
people
bro.
face to face. I think they said
Demolition
for
Man.
generation 45 and up,
Man.
they prefer to meet in person, where younger generations prefer to meet through the internet. So because of that disconnect, and people after COVID especially don't go out
Yeah.
and connect anymore,
Right.
they use the intermediary to find connection.
Yeah.
To go out on the weekends versus like going to plus who wants to meet their significant other at the bar or at a club,
Yeah.
right?
A lot of things are changing. Next thing you
Definitely.
know, you ever seen that movie Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes?
I feel like I have.
It's
So
it's an older movie.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
I
It's
think
in the
I did.
90s, right?
I don't remember,
And-
but
yeah, and it's
Be
like
well.
it's very futuristic.
Okay.
Right? Like if you think about
Yeah.
the new Tesla truck, it looks just like
Yes.
the cars that were in that movie, right?
Yeah.
And no touching.
And yeah, so they're having virtual sex.
oh,
And it feels like they're having real sex. I feel like we're headed there in like the
Probably.
next 5 to 10
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
In China,
probably closer to
because of the
5.
one-child policy, there's not enough women in China, so they started having virtual and robotic strip clubs,
Yeah.
and the males are actually infatuated with artificial or
Gosh.
metallic beings
Jeez.
that
Wow.
they actually have a real relationship with.
yeah. So I guess it just depends on what your goal is, what your purpose in life is. If you just want to have sex, okay, I think you're still going to be unsatisfied and empty.
Yeah.
But do you want to build a family? Do you want to build a life with somebody and raise kids? Like, That's what we were designed to do.
I don't think
Here
this
on Earth.
generation wants wants
I think
kids
they're
like they used to.
programmed not
No,
to.
And
They're
see,
programmed not to think that.
And
that's
can you see
important.
how the enemy would love to tell the young people marriage doesn't work, don't get married,
Mhm.
don't have children, because guess what's going to happen? We aren't going to, our species becomes extinct.
100%.
And wouldn't the enemy love that?
Oh, there's a guy here. There's a dude that works here that I had to, like, I'm not a gambling man, but I had to place a bet, right? I knew there was a,
What's his name?
I'm not going to say the name.
Initials.
He's in the room right now. Okay?
Oh, we're not going to
But-
say the name.
Yeah, but watch this. This guy had such an unhealthy dating life,
So unhealthy.
right? Like this dude was on Hinge and Tinder and Grinder. He was on all of them, right? And I had to bet him. I knew that North Carolina was going to be Michigan State. And he was like, "Oh yeah, Michigan State's going to win." I said, "No, dude. I said, I'll bet you that they're not going to win. If I win, right, you cannot have sex with the woman for 60 days. You can't even see a woman for 30. Okay. And if you win, then I'll take you to the best steakhouse in the city and you can order whatever you want." Right. He lost. And it took for us to make that bet. I mean, he was on his way to a venereal disease for sure.
I thought
For
he
sure.
already
I mean,
had
this dude,
one, or a couple.
but and again, this dude is in his 20s,
There was a
right?
stench on him. Yeah.
Like that's what's going on out there right
Weird
now.
moles.
Yeah.
This guy's dying over there, right? That's what's going on out there right now with all the 20-something-year-olds and even some of the early 30-year-olds, right? It's becoming like a Sodom and Gomorrah. Everybody's just after
So sad.
flesh.
Yeah.
It's very carnal, right? It's
Stimulate, just seeking stimulation.
Right.
That's it.
And
Immediate,
Not
instant
connection,
No.
stimulation.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
temporary.
It's
It's all
very
temporary.
temporary.
It's counterfeit. It's a counterfeit.
Yes.
It's not real. It's like you're getting the knockoff brand. You're not getting the real thing. It's an intimate, deep bond with another human being that is going to bring you the reward, the satisfaction. And do you know why? Because that's how you were designed from your creator. So we're trying to do it differently and take God out of the picture and trying to be robots and with the AI, all that stuff. It's like, it's not going to go well.
I think capitalism plays a big role. Capitalism says, hey, if I
Yeah.
want to make more money, I need you guys on my app. I need you guys on my platform on Instagram. I need you guys to be distracted. You want instant food? You want
Right.
instant sex? You want instant
Instant
everything? And what
Instant
it does,
stimulation.
no one's aware of it because everybody's inside of the loop, the habit loop.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to get out of it because everyone's stuck in it. Parents can't tell their kids to get off the phone because the parents are stuck on the phone. They can't say to focus on homework because they can't even focus on their task.
Right.
So everybody's running around on the hamster wheel and nobody can identify what they're struggling with because they're all in the same cohesive area.
Right. And you know what? It robs a man of his masculinity.
Yes.
All of that. Because his most masculine self will be a man who's protecting and providing for the vulnerable, for women and children and the elderly.
Mhm.
And so if he's just out getting his rocks off, feeding his flesh,
That's it.
he's going to expire. I mean, he's not going to go well
He's
for
gonna
him.
become a carcass. Like, no, this dude that works
Exactly.
with us, like he was coming in, he was just sucked. He was just sucked.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like a carcass.
Yeah, he was like a carcass.
Yeah. What about your spirit man? Do you feed your spirit man? Or
Exactly.
you just
Like a
water
ghost.
your
He's like a
flesh?
ghost.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel like I came, like we had you on this podcast without asking this question, right? Because the first time I read this verse in the Bible was Proverbs 21, verse 9, right? It's better to live on the corner of a roof than in a house with a quarrelsome wife.
Mm.
The first time I read that, I was like, boom, sent it to my wife, right? I was like, stop nagging me almost, right?
Wow.
And then I come to realize like there's more to that. It's a deeper
Mm-hmm.
a deeper meaning than just like, hey, stop nagging me, right? And you talked about that on that podcast.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Why do you think she's nagging?
No, not anymore. This
Oh,
is
okay.
previously.
Ah.
This
Okay.
is previous.
What, she saw the verse and
No,
she
no.
stopped?
No,
No,
we started communicating.
you guys
Okay.
have gotten a lot better.
Yeah, we started communicating.
Okay.
But she had the right to nag you.
The only
He's my
reason
brother-in-law. I know what goes on behind
Okay.
the scenes.
the only
Fill her
reason
in.
a woman is nagging is because she doesn't feel heard.
Yeah.
So she has to keep repeating it, and a man hears that it's over and over because you're not listening. She doesn't
Oof.
feel heard.
Wow.
If she feels heard, she won't nag.
Right.
So why is she having to nag? I like to ask the men, why is she nagging? Because you won't listen to her.
And
And when you
heard
say
and
that,
listen are different, right?
yeah, because when you
Yes,
say
hearing
when you say
and
I'm not
listening is very
listening to her,
different.
like I'm listening to her,
You're
but then I'm
hearing
trying
No,
to
you hear her
I'm hearing
words.
her.
You hear her
I'm trying
voice.
I'm trying to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
But listening is different. Listening is active. Hearing is passive. So if you listen, you're going to act on what you heard her say.
Right.
If she keeps saying, "Can you please take out the trash? Can you please take?" You said you take out. You said and you're just, I'll do it when I get to it, right? And for a woman, when she asks you to do something, she means now.
Mhm.
She doesn't mean 3 days.
Oh yeah, I learned that.
But see, here's the
me a
difference too
while.
between men and women. For a man, his needs are direct and immediate,
That's right.
critical and urgent.
Yeah.
Okay. So when he needs something, he gets it done. And he will relate to her needs the way he relates to his own. If it's not critical and urgent, if he's not starving, he can wait. He doesn't have to eat because he's focused. He can eat later. Right. So if the trash isn't overflowing with maggots, it's not critical.
Or
It's not urgent.
Yeah.
Right. But for her, it's starting to smell. It's getting filled up. It's a man's job. It's dirty. It's cold out. I don't want to take it out. So when you do those manly type things, the dirty things, and I mean, I have no problem emptying the trash, but when my husband does it, I'm like, "Oh, thank you. Oh, you emptied the trash. I didn't even have to ask. Thanks. Great. I don't have to go out in the cold or whatever. I have to go in the backyard where it's dirty." So it makes her, that's part of her feeling pampered. Like she's being taken care of. You're doing some of those menial jobs that maybe she can do, but maybe doesn't want to do. And so if you want to stop the nagging, don't just hear her, listen, and take action.
Danielle,
I'm putting on the apron tonight.
it's a perfect segue. I want to bring up
pants.
children. You have a son. Is
Yes.
that correct? So you're a relationship coach. You have a son. Do you take that role and sort of teach him what we're talking about here, or do you let your husband do that? Do you do it together? And can you give like an example of how you're leading your son if you're the one doing that?
Yeah. Okay.
To this.
So my son's 41.
Oh, geez. Oh, okay. I thought he was
He's
like
grown and
16
married
or
now.
something. Okay.
Yeah. But when he was younger,
Yeah.
my husband fully had all the father-son things and all the father-son talks. And I was the mom. So he learned about the feminine and the masculine energies. And we had a very traditional home. Dad worked. I was stay-at-home mom for the most part. I had little jobs here and there. I had a personal training business and I taught Group X classes for 20 years. So I had little jobs here and there. But he learned, the manly stuff from his dad. And then as he got older and then when he started dating and then found his wife, now when I go out there, I see them once a month and they always get very excited because they hear so much about relationships that they say it's been the best year of their life in this last year. Because my son, I'm really big on, you got to date your wife. And so every time before I come, the night before, he takes her on a date. I go, "Did you do that because you knew I was coming?" He goes, Yep. And she loves it because he knows I'll hold him accountable, And again, we're more like peers now because he's grown. But I feel like I taught all three of our children a lot about relationship and marriage, and they all have very great marriages and are raising a family, all three of them.
How'd you pass the baton? Because right now with my spouse, we have a 4-month young son, and I was raised in a family of 11.
Wow.
Right? 7 brothers, right? So
Wow.
I just come from experience. He falls, it's okay, right? I throw him around the bed, and just so I'm not gonna cuddle him all the time. That's with mom.
Yeah.
And sometimes, she doesn't have a brother to relate to, so she feels that she needs to always find a way to make sure that he's not hurting too bad, or when
Yeah.
he cries, like you always got to go and check on him. And I let her know that he's just fine. I have 17 nieces and nephews, so they all do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
This is like a cycle.
Yeah.
And so what do you say to young women who are because right now there are a lot of young women raising sons by themselves.
I know.
But what do you say to those young women that are raising sons on their role as women,
Mhm.
but also what their role is not as well?
Yeah, I think they need to get their boys around masculine men that the mom respects, wherever that is, in a church, a brother, a father, a grandfather. Like they need to be around men that are doing it right, good, healthy, emotionally healthy, masculine men, because a woman can't teach a man to be masculine. We can bring other men around the kids, but a man needs to teach a man masculinity, and I can say all day long, masculinity isn't about shooting guns and driving trucks and having a beard and, being what are those fighters called? Those
UFC
Yeah,
fighters.
yeah,
MMA fighters?
yeah. I mean, yeah, those are all masculine things, but that's not masculinity in and of itself. Masculinity is taking responsibility, being accountable, being a protector, a provider, whether it's over your pets or, anything that you're bigger and stronger in. It's and being responsible, and that's masculinity.
Right.
I love that. By the way, she's been spot on. Let's be honest here, right?
Yeah.
No, seriously.
You're good.
We're going for another hour.
You know what's crazy, right? So my social media peers, right? There's a lot of masculine men. I think a lot of people that follow me personally on social, they consider me a very masculine man.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not the guy out there every weekend shooting the guns or riding the riding the what do you call it, the Can-Ams, the dirt bikes. I'm not I'm not that guy.
Right.
But they see me as a masculine man because of everything you just said. Right. Mm-hmm. Respecting and honoring my wife, respecting and honoring my daughters, providing, taking care of them.
Right.
Right. Like I believe that's what I actually think that actually has more of an impact than even doing the masculine thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? I think too many of these men are focused on that whole image, right? Of portraying that image than actually being that man.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I'll give you an example, and I'm not going to drop any names, but there's multiple men out there that portray to be very masculine. They do all those things we just said, right? And then in the last 12 months, I have personally seen their wives walk out on them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They leave. They're the ones that initiate the divorce.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, wait a minute, you guys had a full-blown podcast about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing I was going to tell you was, you are someone that I wrote this down. I would take marriage and guidance from you because of your history, right? When a lot of these folks out there, these social media personalities, and I know you're new to it, they have the marriage podcasts, and then a year later, their wife is filing for divorce.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's why it's very important to shine the light on the right people.
Yeah.
Right. To me, that's why it was so important for me to give you some light exposure and like, hey guys, this person knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
She's the real
right.
deal.
And we got a lot of more to talk about. Like once you go back home, right? If you finally give me your number,
Yes.
I ask for a number. And like,
I emailed it to you.
Can I get your number?
Check
You
his
can have
email,
my
sorry.
email.
Well, until I get to know you a little bit.
I want to give you so much advice on community building
Okay.
that you can, because the world needs what you have. They need that knowledge, that information, what you're living. They need that from you, right?
Beyond the church.
Oh yeah, beyond the church, beyond social media,
Mm.
they need it. They need it. And we'll talk about that, God willing,
Okay.
soon.
They're gonna get it somewhere else.
Yeah.
If they don't get it
and they
from
might
you.
get it from the
And
wrong
they might get it from
person.
a false prophet.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Right?
people giving bad advice out there.
Yeah.
For sure.
As we wrap this up, I want to ask you this, because this is very important to me, because I see this happening a lot. And I got a daughter. I got an 11-year-old daughter, and boys are already going kind of crazy for her.
Yeah.
Right. But daddy, daddy has raised her right. Daddy opens the door for her. She knows. My daughter now knows when she goes to the back door, she just stands there.
Yeah. That's so good.
You know
That's
why?
so good.
What is she waiting for?
Yes.
For you to open the
She's
door.
waiting for dad to open
That's
the door
good.
for her, right? That's something that I've been training her
Yes.
and training her, right? So, chivalry is not dead. I think
That's
chivalry is a
right.
choice, right?
Yes.
But this is the question that I had for you. What does a woman lose every time she sleeps with a random person? What does she lose?
Her self-esteem.
Her self-esteem.
That's what
Please
I believe.
break that down.
I think it chips away at her self-esteem, especially when he doesn't call back. Women take the biggest hit to their self-esteem around sex.
Or when they move on,
Yeah.
because most will.
Yeah. They think if I give it to him, and deep down, they probably won't admit this, today's girls that are out there in the world, but deep down, if I give him my body, he'll love me. That's what we're trained to think, to believe that. Then he'll love me. And it's not that way for a guy. It's not that way. A guy would rather have to pursue you and chase you.
Yes.
Like that's more exciting. He likes a good challenge.
Absolutely.
But a woman that just gives it over, he's like, where's her virtue? A man falls
Wow,
in love
so
with the
true.
woman's virtue, not just sex with the woman.
Yes.
But he doesn't fall in love with a woman that's slept with every guy in town. He falls in love with the one that nobody has slept with, the one no one can get, because she likes herself so much. She has self-respect that she don't give it away easily. That's the kind of girl that every man
I'm
wants.
saying so.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
So,
Mhm.
I agree.
you've been absolutely right. It's been amazing.
You
I was
guys are
excited.
so
I
nice.
was excited
no,
today.
you
for
have
sure.
you have delivered exactly what I thought you were going to deliver. The last thing that I have for you is like, this is your camera here, right?
Okay.
If you just have a message for any woman or man out there listening, watching, right? What kind of advice would you give to them, especially in today's society where it's very, very difficult to find a good significant other?
Yeah.
Some of us in here were blessed. Obviously, he's starting his journey, but married, soulmate, married my soulmate. You married your soulmate, right?
Yeah.
We can't talk about the hinge babies back here, right? But and he's working on his, right? So, what advice? I know, they love it. What advice would you give to anybody out there that's watching and listening that they just absolutely must hear when it comes to finding that significant other?
Well, probably the number one thing, and you're not going to like this. I mean, you guys, the women won't like it, because I have young women ask me all the time, I'm ready, but he's not ready. I'm ready for that commitment. And my first question is, are you sleeping with them? Well, yeah. Okay, so why does he have to commit if he's getting all the benefits of marriage already? You go away on the weekend, or you moved in with him. He's already got you off the market. You moved in with him. Why does he have to commit? Most men don't want to get married. They don't want that kind of commitment. But ladies, if you want a commitment, if you want to be married, close your legs.
Ooh, hold on.
Close them.
Ooh.
You
Sorry.
need to come
Close
up with
the
a chastity
leg.
belt, chastity belt line.
Right? She's right.
And listen,
right.
if
She's
you're
right.
already in a relationship and you're already having sex, I know, because they ask me, they go, well, how can I change it now? If you've been living with him for 5 years, he's not going to marry you. It's 5 years down the road.
Why buy the cow when
Yes.
you're getting the milk for
Yep.
free?
Yep. And it sounds old fashioned, but I'm telling you what works. Okay. If he has to work for you, work to get you off the market, he's got to put a ring on your finger.
Oof.
And it's okay to say, for you ladies, if you're already in that relationship, you've already given it up, it's okay to say, you know what? I have learned some new information, and I'm not getting what I want. I want marriage. I want commitment. I want a family. You're not ready. That's fine. Love you, but we're going to break up because I need, a woman should never give up sex unless she gets what she needs before, during, and after.
Oof.
Ever. Because guess who loses if you compromise? He don't lose. You as the woman are the one that loses. Okay?
All
It's
the
like
young
you
people
just
are gonna not like that.
I
I
know.
love that.
I
Oh,
know.
On that note, I really appreciate you making this show
Thank
today,
you.
and I cannot wait to have it out there because, oh my goodness, this is so amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. So many lives
Oh.
are going to be impacted by this
Yeah.
this specific episode
A lot of
today.
fruit.
So,
A lot of fruit.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
so
It's
We
an
honor
honor.
you. We
An
honor you.
honor.
All right, I'm going to close it out here. Hey, if you have not subscribed, that's the only fee that we charge to run this show is subscribe or share with people that will find value from this show. And until next week, we'll see you soon.